Can't decide and torn between a romantic, comedy, action, or an indie film to watch for the weekend? Well. Golden State Media Concepts Movie Podcast is your ultimate guide to the latest movies. Join us as we dissect the latest on the blockbusters. It's the Golden State Media Concepts Movie Podcast.
Welcome, and thank you for tuning in to the GSMC Movie Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I am your host, Melissa Goller, and I am so excited to air my show on the GSMC Network. I love podcasts, and I love film. After all, I write them, and I get them made. Combining those two loves with the basis for a show that I want should appeal to cinephiles all the world over. This will be a show where we discuss great films, no matter how big or small. A show where we dive deep into how the elements in the cosmos came together to make them great. And a show where we will never be afraid to get creative. Let's do this. I'd like to start this episode with film festivals. For our first segment, we are fresh off the Oscars, which never let us down in terms of disappointment when the film you want didn't get chosen, or in this year's case, the actor that the Twitter universe and even an entire major television network had betted upon without consulting the Academy. Oh man, what a time that was. Many of these films, most actually, got their exposure at film festivals across the world. They appeared in festivals before they even made it to theaters or streaming services. And that's because, as a whole, festivals are a great way to have a more anonymous focus group tell you what they think of your film. I say anonymous because if they hate it, you don't actually need to face them ever again. It's very easy to avoid them. You can unattend the festival, slip out the back, and pretend it never happened. Better luck next year, right? Unless there was a red carpet where your photo was taken and you were asked to promote the project. There's no hiding after that. Everyone will know you made a clunker of a film. However, if you're at one of those kinds of festivals, odds are your films are good. Given that you're probably starting out, there's no need to worry about a carpet. I digress. Anyway, as I said, festivals are a great way to get people's opinions about your film. And that's because a festival is essentially a gathering of people who love film. They get to watch and evaluate new movies and have a chance to talk to budding filmmakers, directors, actors, and anyone else, frankly, who were involved in the film. And they get to talk about their work and future projects. Everyone is looking for the same thing, an opportunity. Overall, festivals can be where groundbreaking, innovative, the next big thing kind of movie is discovered. And to say you were there when it happened can be your claim to fame for a long time, especially with the AV crowd. And to a filmmaker with a movie playing at a festival that generates a lot of buzz, distributors will most likely want to pick it up if you continue to market it successfully. There are around 3,000 active film festivals around the world. So, you aspiring filmmaker, there are lots of options to choose from when submitting your film. At least one of those 3,000 festivals are bound to accept your movie. Always look for that bright side. Now, out of these 3,000, there are 5 that have become the creme de la creme. You get into these, you're basically keeping company with Scorsese, Spielberg, Tarantino. You know them. You get it. I don't need to go on. Internationally, the big three, as they're called, and no, not the siblings from This Is Us, are the Venice International Film Festival, the Berlin International Film Festival, and of course, the festival that can go by one name and one name only because it's so famous, Cannes, the Cannes Film Festival. These three lovely cities are home to the biggest film festivals in the world. By big, I mean fancy, prestigious. There's a lot of money invested into these, which mean nice cash prizes like thousands of dollars minimum. There's a lot of exposure that comes from attending. Just attending. And if your film is playing here miraculously, oh man, you're set. Awards could certainly come your way if that's the case. But just having premiered my film at any one of these big three festivals on your resume is enough to set you on your way. Let's start with Venice. The Venice International Film Festival was founded in 1932 and is part of the Venice Biennale. I practiced. It's a greater art exhibition. I should practice English next. Established in 1893, it's one of the oldest art exhibitions in the world. It's held annually on the island of Lido in the Adriatic Sea of the Venetian Lagoon. As I record this, it's raining outside. It's a cold and windy rain, so thinking about an Italian island is making me feel really good. There is a jury, the people who vote on the films, and the president of the jury currently is the great Kate Blanchett. The Venice Festival was created in response to the Wall Street crash in 1929 that led to the economic turmoil of the Great Depression. Italy feared a decline in tourism that would ruin them financially and hoped to draw people in through innovative and unique art programs. Also, in the 1930s, the Italian government and people were interested in film as a means to celebrate Italian culture because given up until that point, the majority of films screened in Italy were American. Italian businessman and politician Giuseppe Volpi, the first Count of Misurata, that must be nice, founded the film festival and opened with a screening of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, which won the title of the most original film. I say title because there were no official awards given yet at that point. Any recognition came in the form of audience praise. In attendance included Italian and English royalty, Winston Churchill, Henry Ford, and major Hollywood actors at the time, Greta Garbo and Clark Gable. 40 films from 6 countries were shown on a hotel terrace. In 1934, the festival grew in its success when it started to have premieres of certain films. They got the first scoop. 9 other countries joined the festival as well. And it was at that year's festival that caused the first scandal at a festival I'll be mentioning in this episode. And there are many, trust me. At the center was a film called Ecstasy by Czech director Gustav Machati that premiered at the festival. It focuses on a young woman marrying a wealthier but much older man. Unhappy, not compatible, no surprise there. They divorce, and she falls for a younger engineer who opens her eyes to a life of passion that she never knew before. The film caused an uproar when the main character, played by Hedy Lamar, is swimming naked. And the film also displays a love scene, but from the face only. It's literally nothing compared to today. Game of Thrones? Anyone? But something had to start the acceptance of something shown in nearly every film today. And 1934's Ecstasy was that. The backlash was big. It was denounced by the Vatican. In the U.S., the Motion Picture Producers Association and the Film Distributors of America called it highly, even dangerously indecent, and only played in small, independent film houses. And it was even banned altogether in some states like Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania, am I right? That's a random fact. You're welcome on your next trivia night. Again, all this over a woman in the water and showing her face during an intimate scene. Needless to say, out of controversy, the cream always rises to the top. Hedy Lamar's career was launched, and she became a great actress of her time and a scientist, an inventor. She discovered frequency hopping spectrum communication, the technology that led to cell phones and Wi-Fi. I'm recording right now thanks to her. So, thank you, Hedy. You were way ahead of your time. Another fun side note is a wealthy arms dealer at the time attempted to buy every existing print of the film Ecstasy in order to stop its circulation. He spent $280,000, which today is equal to $5.53 million, and he wasn't even successful. But this man, here's the caveat, this man would go on to become Hedy Lamar's first husband. I hope she left him because of his poor money-spending habits. Crazy stuff. Hollywood hasn't changed a bit. And back to the festival. Sorry. In 1936, a jury of Italian-only filmmakers was added, so they've come a long way if Miss Blanchett is running the show now. In 1936, however, the Ministry of Popular Culture declared the festival a separate entity from the Venice Biennale exhibition, and its founders could no longer operate it. This made a space for the government, like the Department of Cinema and the fascist National Federation of Entertainment Industries, to weasel their way in, typical of dictatorships. The art programs are always the first to federalize under dictators because it gives them the most power. They can spread any message they want when the writers are forced to write what they want, or painters and photographers are told to depict images that they deem appropriate only. In the 1940s, the situation became much more dark. With World War II raging and Italy completely under Nazi control, Nazi propaganda films were shown often, and each film had to be approved by the party beforehand. If it wasn't to their liking, it wasn't showed. In 1942, the festival was suspended completely. But in 1946, a post-war new wave and new desire to explore swept across the world, and in Italy, it was very intense. It was like a second renaissance. The festival reopened full speed and made a schedule that complemented the new Cannes Festival. Venice rose from the ashes of war and became a great icon in the film world once again. And now the festival is a hub for iconic films and the people who made them. The Venice Film Festival has become a launchpad for Oscars by hosting world premieres of things like Brokeback Mountain, Monsoon Wedding, Gravity, Birdman, Spotlight, La La Land, The Favorite, Roma, and The Joker. From this festival, these and many other films have received their international breakthroughs because of this festival. And even in 2017, to show how innovative they are and always thinking ahead, and to be inclusive, they introduced a new category for virtual reality films, which is a big win for the often underappreciated graphics and special effects department. Please stay tuned for the second segment, where I get into the next festival out of the big three, and that's the Berlin International Film Festival.
Want to know the latest and hottest music hitting the airwaves? Don't be left out. Listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Music Podcast. It keeps you on the loop with everything you need to know from pop, rock, hip-hop, and the top 40. And we'll throw in news of your favorite artists, concert and tour dates, and so much more. Listen no further, because this is the gold standard in music podcast.
Welcome back. In this next segment, I want to introduce the second of the big three international film festivals, the Berlin International Film Festival. The Berlin International Film Festival is held in Berlin, no kidding, every year and has the largest public attendance of any annual film festival. 130 countries participate, and 400 films compete out of the 500,000 films submitted. I'll say that again. 400 films are chosen out of 500,000. Though, these odds of getting anywhere near this festival in particular seem really slim, it is a 0.08% chance. A subsequent platform called the Berlinell Talents provides networking opportunities for 250 incoming new creatives in the field of film and drama that are invited to Berlin for the festival. Through this program, they get to speak with renowned filmmakers and discuss innovations and trends in the business that can help develop their own projects. So, I think that's a great resource, even though it's also highly competitive. Like I said, 250 people are chosen to participate out of about 3,000 applicants every year. These are people that are already kind of established and need a little elevation and guidance to get to the next step. They have worked already in some capacity, be it as an actor, director, writer, cinematographer, sound designer, editor, producer, or even a film critic, on a film that has been invited to an international film festival, or on, in their words, a, quote, highly quality dramatic TV series, which is a Union Network television program, that was broadcast successfully on a TV channel or streaming platform. But at least it's something to aspire to that I think could be a great goal to have in the middle of two bigger goals. It's a good stepping point to get to the next level after completing something kind of major. You do this, you get to the second major thing on the other side of that. And I also think that this program proves that there are no favors given in this field. You want to do something? Do it to the best of your abilities and don't belittle the viewers or waste their time. That kind of nonsense can be spotted miles away. If you stick to these principles, your project will have heart. And that is how you make it. You keep it smart and you keep it heartfelt. The Berlin Film Festival was founded in 1951 at the peak of the Cold War. And so far, I just want to remind you, I've mentioned 2 festivals so far whose formation started alongside wars and had to deal with those hardships. I think it supports the idea that good art arises from strife, and it's going to be the best, most effective remedy to combat any kind of trouble in society because it calls you out on the terribleness going on unnecessarily. And hopefully, if you're listening, you'll help fix it. Anyway, the festival was the brainchild of an American film officer named Oscar Marte of the Information Services branch within the American High Commissioner of West Germany post-World War II. Does that all fit on a business card? This is the group that oversaw the rebuilding and reunification of West Germany. As a film officer in the U.S. Army, Marte recorded stills and videos to document combat and non-combat operations that were turned into promotional videos on behalf of the U.S. Army. The proposal went through committees in the Berlin Senate and members of the German film industry. Marte persuaded the U.S. Army to provide loans, and the festival premiered in June of 1951, opening with Alfred Hitchcock's Rebecca. Other films that night included Cinderella, and Marte won the festival's highest award that year in recognition of all he did to make this festival a reality, and it being the ultimate contribution to the film and art community. This film festival blossomed into a mammoth of a festival. 400 films are watched for a period of 10 days. That's a grueling schedule. It's organized and highly detailed, so much so that it can be broken down into 7 categories. That is so much. They are. The first is called Competition. It plays feature films that haven't been released outside of their country of origin yet. The second is called Panorama. It shows new art house or independent films that deal with controversial subjects or have unconventional aesthetic styles. These films are meant to provoke discussion about some larger issue. A lot of LGBTQ plus films are aired in this category in the Berlin Festival. And people are trying to make that not be the case. They want it a lot more mainstream. The third category is the Forum. This is for experimental or documentary films from around the world, with an emphasis on those made by new filmmakers. There is no genre or format requirement or restrictions, but these films are not eligible for any festival awards. The fourth category is called Generation. These are films, short and feature lengths, aimed at children. These are broken down further by age. One set of film is for children ages 4 years old and up, and another set is for teenagers 14 years old and up. It's never too early to engage an audience. The fifth group of films is called Perspektive Deutsches Kino. How's my German? Which translates to Perspectives of German Cinema. They show German films that coincide with current trends in the German media. The festival likes the films in this category to be, quote, sophisticated, idiosyncratic, and fearless. They prefer the filmmakers play around, experiment, and provoke. People searching for artistic self-expression from the off-beaten path are often portrayed. The sixth category is Berlinell shorts. These are short films with an innovative approach. This past year's themes included reinterpreting historical events, opposition to political violence and terror, but showing it to ensure that we never forget it, so as not to repeat it, trauma and individuals relying on their families' help to find answers, challenging societal institutions, or exploring the future and how we can imagine togetherness as we proceed into the second year of a global virus that severely diminished how close and together we can be. These short films aired here. They can be fictional, experimental, documentary, animation, or even a hybrid documentary. Hybrid documentaries are becoming increasingly popular. They use narration as a historical scene is acted out to showcase the events, but there are less interviews on the subject, like a traditional documentary, and it flows more like a film, but there's someone narrating it, rather than actors having dialogue completely. They'll have dialogue a little bit, but it'll be coupled with someone narrating it. 20 short films from 16 different countries with different languages showcased their work in this category at this year's festival. The seventh category, and I like this one a lot, is called Retrospective. It revisits classic films shown a long time ago, and at the same time, pays homage to the life and work of past directors and actors and everyone involved in that film. I like this one so, so much because these films were people's life work. It was their job and the footprint they wanted to leave behind and be remembered for. So, to remember is important because there's nothing worse than obscurity, and I think this helps fight that. I know that I would want my work to continue on after me so that I would remain in the zeitgeist of people. And maybe if they had any questions, they could reference my work if it answered it. And then they think of me, and that's nice. This category becomes a sort of history lesson of people who did great work, and we need to learn from them. This year's Retrospective Category 2021 is honoring 3 American actresses whose careers spanned decades, and any film they're in is going to be a classic. They are Mae West, Carole Lombard, and the great, a personal favorite of mine, hence the great, Rosalind Russell. The festival will show 27 films between the 3 of them, and now a new generation can be introduced who might not have known otherwise. Leave it to the Berlin Festival to keep the oldies alive. Good for them. I like to think of this festival as a nice mix between a competition, an educational opportunity, and a chance to have a nice day at the movies. The current jury president is Jeremy Irons. Because why not? Past presidents have included Miss Meryl Streep, Darren Aronofsky, Werner Herzog, Mike Leigh, Juliette Binoche, and Tilda Swinton. Because again, why not? I'm just messing around. Tilda Swinton is a multi-award winning actress, including Oscar and BAFTA, and has been in the game a long, long time. In fact, this brings up a thought I wanted to share. One of the keys to success, really. It's sticking around. The more you're at things and doing the work, the more people you'll meet, and the better the chance that they'll remember you, given that they saw you before at something else. This will pique their interests in you and what you have to do. So be the last one standing. Just like the opening scene in Grey's Anatomy. You know the one. The Berlin Festival, though, does not have as much of a tumultuous history as Venice did, who, had to embattle toppling government overthrows by a foreign military and not sell their soul to the devil. But it's just as storied and hallowed. And there is controversy worth mentioning here, too. In 1970, the 20th Berlin Film Festival was cut 2 days short due to a controversy surrounding the anti-war film OK by German director Michael Verhoeven. The film reenacts the true incident on Hill 192, in which 4 American soldiers assault and kill a Vietnamese woman during the Vietnam War. A 5th soldier who did not partake in the crime reports it, but the company commander takes no action. He is persistent for justice, and the case is reported to higher and higher authorities, and the accused soldiers are court-martialed, which is a trial by military court. However, this one hopeful thing is to no avail because they receive light sentences and only dishonorable discharges. At the festival, then jury president, screenwriter George Stevens decided after a 7-2 vote to remove the film because it did not contribute to a, quote, better understanding between nations. He claimed it was anti-American. Verhoeven said it was very much pro-American because hatred and disagreement over the Vietnam War was at the forefront of issues in America, and his film is anti-war. A couple jury members, literally 2, defended the film, claiming any accepted film should not be excluded from the competition. The festival leaders And Stevens himself got into altercations, as did they and the Berlin and international press, because the jury was accused of censorship. They were forced to disband, so no prizes were awarded, and the competition was suspended. It became a debate of whether the festival should even continue after that. Fortunately for everyone, it did. Stay tuned for the next segment when I discuss the holy grail of film festivals, the Cannes Film Festival.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
Welcome back. In this segment, I would like to bring up the Cannes Film Festival. If I get through this segment without mispronouncing it, I'd be really grateful. I'm having a little trouble because Cannes is a Hebrew word, and that's the other language I speak. It means here. So the signals are getting crossed in my brain on how to say this word. Cannes, I take that weird pause. Cannes is a French word. I need to remember that. The Cannes Film Festival. Oh my goodness. It's probably our modern version of the Great Gatsby lifestyle. There's even a dress code. The prestige, the attention, the clothes. Oh man, the clothes. The opulence, the chaos, the stress, the lights, cameras, the beaches nearby. If there's a place where the coolest, most beautiful people meet once a year that you can only observe from the outside, it's Cannes. If you ever needed a reminder more of being of a simple existence, it's Cannes. It causes emotional trauma, is what I'm trying to say. The festival is in Cannes, France, along the gorgeous French Riviera. Previews are shown, which are films without a release date. It didn't even have a premiere. It's that exclusive. We, the public, won't see these films for over a year, probably, but these privileged eyes get the first look. It's an invitation-only festival, so you better know somebody or apply for a job as a waiter if you want to get in. But, to its credit, there's tremendous artistic freedom that creators are given to make their film. It might very well be the last entertainment event that emphasizes the avant-garde, couture, and not caving to groupthink mentality in what they select to show at the festival. The festival was formally accredited in 1951, but it dates back to 1938, when French filmmakers wanted to compete with the likes of the Venice Film Festival, which at this point in time was heavy in its fascist propaganda. Even more, Italian dictator Benito Mussolini denied a pro-French resistance film, it's called La Grande Illusion, from competing while continuously awarding movies produced by his son that enforced Nazi ideology. In protest and disgust, French, English, and American filmmakers withdrew from Venice Film Festival and settled on starting their own festival in Cannes because it's a beautiful resort town along the beach, and the municipality was happy to provide financial help, like building a new venue for the event. On August 31st, 1939, the opening night at Cannes took place with screenings of The Hunchback of Notre Dame. Major Hollywood studio, MGM, chartered a cruise ship to take some of the biggest names to the festival. Celebrities in attendance included Gary Cooper, Cary Grant, Spencer Tracy, Mae West, Norma Shear. Anyone who is anyone was there, to put it simply. If you like history like I do, you'll know what happened the next day. On September 1st, 1939, Germany invaded Poland. The festival was postponed until world circumstances would allow it, which basically would mean 7 years later. You see how war gets in the way of good film? Such an inconvenience. On September 3rd, 1939, 2 days later, France and England officially declared war on Germany, and World War II began. The French government ordered the festival and any non-military operations to cease, effectively canceling the festival. Poor Cary Grant. I hope he got home okay. The festival reopened September 1946, and 21 countries participated in the first Cannes Film Festival. I had to pause again because I forgot how to say it. Again, the festival didn't continue until after, because they ran out of money in 1948. In 1949, thinking they were back on, a beautiful new convention center was built just for the occasion. But the French weather is never predictable 100%. An autumn storm blew the roof off the building. Sheesh. Talk about the little festival that couldn't. But we all know it will. In 1951, the festival is back on and stronger, more funded than ever before. All the media attention in the world is looking at Cannes because of the scandalous people with their scandalous films attending. Cannes markets itself like a winner and forms the first ever marché du film, a literal film market. It's still the business aspect to Cannes, the largest film market in the world as a result, and allows a lot more people to attend Cannes in some capacity as a result. So at least they get to go for something. It might not be for the film festival, but they can come to this market where buyers and sellers exchange services in the name of film. So at least you're amongst other filmmakers and producers and people like that. The latest technologies are presented, and discussions and panels are held on how technology will affect the future of filmmaking. There is a designated space for pitching a project to distributors and sales agents, and another to discuss securing financial help that an almost complete film would need to get to the finish line. I really need to get me one of those. Distributors are scattered throughout. They're always on the hunt. Animation technologies are showcased, and recently, and probably of the most importance, streaming platform professionals. What kind of job is that? I'm not sure, but they've attended to discuss their contributions to film. There are even social events between filmmakers from different countries and cultures that take place to bridge the gap and diversify filmmaking even more. It really sounds like the ultimate speed dating convention with a theme of filmmaking. I mean, there's even an app to help navigate through these hundreds of events with hundreds of thousands of people. No other film festival has those credentials like Cannes does. Cannes was established as, and I still think it generally tries to be, a no man's land where politics is not as welcomed. I mean, it should be a meeting place for friends. I like to think that it's trying to bring films back to the original purpose, which is to entertain and allow me to escape my problems and enjoy this movie. The festival has been through more evolutions than any other festival and tries bringing the film that normally might not get a lot of support to the forefront and to not allow any film to be overlooked. This is a rare thing nowadays when everything is about clout and who threw money here, who's producing it here, what actor had this requirement there, what studio demanded this, what network exec demanded this. It becomes a money pit where decisions are made based off of money in terms of what will make the most money. So you need the same actors that you see from film to film, the same directors, the same this, the same that. So the fact that Cannes shows a little love to something that is different and might not meet every demand that another film would have of it, it's really cool. I think it's funny also that this year, all festivals went virtual due to COVID. Venice did, Berlin did, but no, not Cannes. If it couldn't have the flashy, excessive party of its dreams, then there would be no event at all. Cannes was canceled this year because to do so virtually would be an insult to the status it holds itself up to. It might make you ask if it's still really all about the film. But it's campy, and it's happy to be. It's open about it. So who can fault it for wanting to be fun and glamorous? Cannes is organized into categories like the Berlin Festival. In the official selection, the main event, the competitive categories are in competition, Un Certain Regard, which show films from all over the world, and Sin Fondation, which are film school projects. I think that's so cool. Cannes also has a category like the Retrospective in Berlin, called Cannes Classic, that celebrates the heritage of film by highlighting history's greats in the field and exposing a new audience to historical filmmakers who, again, might not have a chance to otherwise. Another category I liked is the Cinema à la Plage. That is where the films that are screened in the festival are screened for the public on the beach. Now that is my kind of festival. That's where I want to be. That's where I want to watch a movie. My two favorite things in one place. That's for me. Cannes is a major platform for any film presented. Its winner could have massive cultural significance. Those that have won have changed the filmmaking game and given us cultural catchphrases until the end of time. These include Inside Llewyn Davis, Pulp Fiction, with the classic, "Do they speak English on what?" La Dolce Vita, Marty, My Beloved, which was my premiere episode, Carol, Blue is the Warmest Color, Sex, Lies, and Videotape, The Pianist, Apocalypse Now, and Taxi Driver. The You Talking to Me, Robert De Niro Taxi Driver. Taxi Driver. Wow, my New York came out. Gotta shove it back in there. It heard Robert De Niro and it thought, that's my cue to start talking like this. So I gotta quiet it down a bit. Please stay tuned. Perfect timing. Stay tuned for the next segment where I discuss some of the weirder moments that have happened at Cannes, and there are many. And that could only have happened at Cannes, given how crazy an event it is. I'll also mention smaller, more eclectic, which is a nicer word for weird, film festivals that are out there.
Watching TV has changed over time. Streaming has become the new norm. That's why Golden State Media Concepts television podcast dives headfirst to the world of cord cutting. Want to be on the loop of what's hot in Netflix? Or if it's not a preference, what about original shows in Hulu? We've got you covered. Join us as we fill in the blanks and talk about movies to stream and what show you should be binging. This is the Golden State Media Concepts television podcast.
Welcome back. Here we finally are, at the fourth segment. First, thank you for listening all the way through. I really appreciate it, and I hope you've learned something or are inspired to make that next great film that all of Venice, Berlin, and Cannes are going to be talking about one day. Cannes is a weird festival. You can quote me on that. I haven't been, but I know someone who has, and he has confirmed. It's weird. It's beautiful and high-end, but I think if you put human beings in that kind of classy environment, they're going to ruin such an elegant decor. A quick search online, and I found an article titled, "The Most Shocking, Memorable, and Weird Moments from the Cannes Film Festival," and I'd like to share some of my favorites. This is a kind of sad one, but I think she's in a better state of mind now, so I can say this lightheartedly. In 2010, an arrest warrant was issued for Lindsay Lohan after she failed to appear at a court hearing concerning her drunk driving case. Authorities tried to approach her in Cannes. They went from LA or New York, wherever she was living at the time, to Cannes, but she was driving, it was probably LA, where she was attending parties on the yacht of friends, as one does in Cannes. Okay, she can do what she wants. She claimed her passport had been stolen as to why she didn't return to the States. Her team had to put up a $100,000 bail to stop her from being arrested upon returning to the U.S. I want to make a Mean Girls reference and say that's so fetch, but maybe it's not. Legal drama doesn't care what continent you're on, apparently. The next fact was the first bikini swimsuit was introduced on the beach during the Cannes Festival by actress Brigitte Bardot in 1953. It is because of Brigitte Bardot that we are forced to do squats. I don't know how I feel about her anymore. On a similar note, Sacha Baron Cohen of Borat fame displayed his infamous neon green man bikini on the beach in Cannes, which is called the Sling swimsuit officially, that has basically a big piece of fabric in the bottom area where it's supposed to, and nothing much else. Funny enough, 6 male Czech Republic tourists tried to wear the same thing in Kazakhstan, where the fictional Borat is from, in 2017, and were arrested. But apparently he paid all their legal fees and everything. Nice guy. Another fashion choice. I don't mean to bring up fashion for the third time, but fashion is a huge part of Cannes. and it makes it a crazy one-of-a-kind place. In 1991, Madonna premiered her iconic rhinestone cone bra that has really come to be a staple in her career ever since. The next fact is the film Universal Soldier premiered in 1992 at the festival and stars Jean-Claude Van Damme and Dolph Lundgren. The two didn't get along. You have two meaty testosterone heads, they're each wanting to be the stronger dude in the movie, so that's going to happen. But they agreed upon one thing, and that was how to promote the film the best way possible, and the best way they knew how, which was to start a physical fight on the red carpet at the Cannes Film Festival. Madonna's bra could have been a very useful weapon here. I don't remember one thing about the film, but I remember hearing about the fight. So they get half a point for that. I mentioned in the beginning that there is a dress code. It's a black tie event, which men have to literally wear black shoes. They have been turned away for wearing another color shoe. This dress code goes for women too. It's high heels or the high way. During the screening for Carol in 2015, 2 women were allegedly escorted and forcefully escorted out of the room by security for their footwear, which was, drumroll please, flat shoes. The festival said it didn't happen. Onlookers said it did. Carol star Rooney Mara made a point to show how she felt about heels by tripping on the carpet. It's chaos, guys. It's chaos at the Cannes Film Festival. And the other Carol star, Miss Cate Blanchett, took a stand by publicly taking off her shoes, throwing them to the side, and continuing to walk the carpet barefoot. In 2018, it happened again. This time, 82 women linked arm in arm and barefoot to protest the no flats rule. Also that year, the festival banned the taking of selfies on the red carpet, calling them grotesque and distracting. Okay, pick your battles, Cannes. Next fact was actors from the 2001 film 24-Hour Party threw fake pigeons with real feathers and real claws onto the tables of diners at the Cannes Majestic Beach restaurant. The only people amused were the Coen brothers, which says a lot about them. In 1989, Sex, Lies, and Videotape won the festival's highest award, and the 26-year-old David Soderbergh beat out the most likely winner of that evening, Spike Lee, for Do the Right Thing. Spike Lee then threatened the jury leader, Wim Wenders, saying, "Somewhere I have a Louisville Slugger with Wenders' name on it." Classy, Spike Lee. Next, Jerry Seinfeld dressed as a bumblebee in 2007 to promote his film Bee Movie and ziplined over everyone's heads from his hotel roof onto a pier near a festival. Seinfeld has too much money to do that. Or maybe he has just enough. Side note, this film is about a human in love with a bee, an insect. So, all you aspiring filmmakers listening, there's no reason your film cannot get made, I promise you. Cannes isn't the only film festival to attract crazier people and their antics. Smaller, interesting film festivals that have the same feel but on a smaller budget include the first, the Golden Apricot International Film Festival in Armenia, that literally gives apricots, its nation's fruit, as awards. because people aren't hungry enough that they give them fruit. The next is the Incredibly Strange Film Festival that shows films that are, well, strange, which could run the gamut. The next was kind of interesting. It was called the International Random Film Festival, where films are chosen randomly and played at random locations, and awards are given out to the winners randomly. If you can get past the Forrest Gump "Life is a box of chocolates, you'll never know what you're going to get" reference, it's not a bad option to look into for a filmmaker starting out. Next is the Kabang Film Festival in Maine. That's a title. It gives out an award called the Kevin Norwood Bacon Achievement Award. If you can prove your connection to Kevin Bacon via 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon, come claim your prize. Do people pay for this? That's my question. Because if so, again, your film can get made. Next, the International Mustache Film Festival. I can't believe I said that out loud. It will only accept films whose character have facial hair. Films about Jesus are popular in this way. Awards given out include the Best Stash Growth Character. Hey, if it's a character, why not? It's a cool way to amplify character development. And another award is the Best Collection of Mustaches in One Film Award. My literal nightmare. The next is the Hollyweird Film Festival at the California Institute for Abnormal Arts, because everything I've said so far hasn't been weird enough. All experimental, underground, avant-garde films are welcome. But you want to know something? People said the same thing about the CBG Club. And look how much it contributed to the music scene. So, you never know. Next is the Borscht Film Festival for films made in Miami, which is odd because I don't associate those two things together ever. But what gives it a claim to fame are the activities accompanying the films. They include space launches. What? Is that legal? Bodybuilding competitions. That does sound like Miami now. Theme parks, machete fencing matches, laser light shows, and psychic readings. Okay. The next festival is the Sick and Wrong Festival. Cool title. Created with the intention of freaking out the audience. They accept any film that disturbs them on an existential level. Adulting disturbs me on an existential level. Is there a film about that? Because I'd like to see that. It's actually been going on since 2016, so that's pretty successful. Don't knock it till you tried it. And the last one, I like it so much. It really, takes the initiative. And it's called Bring Your Own Film Festival, held in India. If you have a movie to share, you show up, register the film, and you're in. No requirements, credentials, or theme or genre preferences. Why did I pay for film school? With the red tape and layers that are made of fake charming and fake compliments and connections that need to constantly be performed in this business, it's kind of nice to take it into your own hands like this. Just some food for thought. And with that, I want to thank you for listening to the GSMC Movie Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. If you liked this episode, please subscribe to the show and write a nice review. That would really help us. Also, if you can, please follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Thank you.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Movie Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.